Hey, everybody. Welcome to the World of Concacaf podcast. I'm Eric Schmitz,
I'm Jonathan Slate.
And I'm Donald Wine.
and we are here at the news desk. And there's a lot going on around CONCACAF, so we wanted to take a brief moment to, break it down, let you know what's going on because there's a lot of nonsense as is with CONCACAF. If there's anything CONCACAF does, it is nonsense.
CONCACAF's been busy lately. I don't know. What happened over the last month where they said, "Yo, we need to get all this work done." But they've done a lot over the last few weeks.
I mean, they've done a lot the last week in general. It's been busy.
Yeah. So we'll give you the latest that we have as of recording date, March 15th. The main thing before we even get into this is I just want to say thank you to our patrons. If you aren't subscribing to our patreon.com/podcacaf. A lot of great content. There will be a one more round episode, and we've got some wonderful pod on the road content coming because we're all going to Grenada shortly. So by the time you're listening to this, we might already be on planes. We might be going places. Donald, how
Might be
excited are you for
floating.
this? Oh, well, there's gonna be some floating happening here. But there'll be some cool stuff on the Patreon. So you should subscribe and support the podcast. We're due to pay for our hosting fees right here this month. So, a little help. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We
My
try
man
to
broke out the bills conversation. He's like, "Yo, we got
yeah,
these bills to pay."
yeah. We're trying to go to the islands to give you content, and we got all these other bills coming in. You gotta pay
Eric
them.
starts talking about bills, and I'm about to go to the gas station for cigarettes and never come back.
Jonathan's like, oh, the check came. Guess I gotta go. Y'all let me know how much I owe you.
I
Never
left
hear
something in
from
my
me.
car. I'll be right back. Let me go
Yeah,
get
I'll be
that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
let me go get that real quick.
yeah. Anyways, patreon.com/podcacaf. And you can also, purchase merchandise from our store, the Podcacaf store. We just added some hats. I named it the Hat Cacaf. That's available as well as some other beach apparel. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's already supporting us. If you're not, pay up. We're giving you the content. All right. So talking about how it was really quiet, all of a sudden there's a lot going on. It's because CONCACAF basically decided to change everything, as they are wont to do. CONCACAF by nature. So we're gonna go through the changes in the formats, and I think the first thing we're gonna talk about, and most important thing in CONCACAF, is the CONCACAF Nations League. Um, in short, they massacred my boy. You know, um, so CONCACAF, with this cycle being unique with the US, Mexico, and Canada hosting the upcoming World Cup in 2026. Mexico, especially, and the US have really shown that they're interested in playing quote unquote better competition. So they want to open up more dates. So CONCACAF, as they would, decided, we'll tweak the formula. So CONCACAF Nations League for the next two editions, starting this fall for the 23-24 edition, the groups are going to change. So essentially, everyone who's getting promoted from this edition of the CNL, the 23-24 edition, they're getting promoted to the higher league. B goes to A, C goes to B. If 4 teams from each will get promoted. There won't be any relegation because they're expanding League A and just giving the top 4 ranked teams in CONCACAF a bye to the brand new CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinals, which will take place in November. So, oddly enough, the US, Mexico, Canada, and as of right now, Costa Rica, the top 4 ranked teams, will not play group stage matches in the CONCACAF Nations League for the next 2 years. So the September and October 23 windows will be group stage matches for the Nations League. And in November, these 4 teams who are getting the bye to the quarterfinals will play the top teams from the two new groups, the top 2 teams from these new groups in the Nations League quarterfinals. So the U.S. will play one team home and away in November. And those 4 teams the top 4 teams from those quarterfinals will move on to the Nations League finals in March of 24. Now, I'm going to kick it to you guys. How devastating is this that we're losing a group stage match? We're losing group stage matches for our travel purposes.
I mean,
let me break this down as plainly as I possibly can. This is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard of in my entire life. My life is now ruined. They've done this to me. What the fuck are they doing? This is dumb. Everybody out there, sorry, Josh, cover your ears. This is bullshit. They knew we wanted to do islands. They even saw the League B standings, which we'll talk about. They saw those League B standings, saw that there were some islands trying to creep up in there. And then they're going to take that motherfucker away from us. That's bullshit.
I think I take it as a personal attack to myself. I'm finally making it to an island game. I was planning on the next round of Nations League to hit all of the island games, and then they came and shot me in the face.
Look, we can't even, like, the thing about it is they're taking the rankings that already happened on March 1st. They announced this on like February 20th or something, and they didn't give us, we couldn't even tank. We couldn't even figure this out because they gave us 8 days, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, by the way, you're still number 2, and number to get to number 5, you'd have to lose for the next 5 straight years. Like, what is this? This is bullshit.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, we're going to use these rankings. As they announce it, the rankings are already set. So incredibly, Concacaf puts out a bracket for these Concacaf Nations League quarterfinals for this next edition. They've got it seeded. The rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4. And by the way, right as of right now, based on these March rankings, Mexico is pretty much locked in at 1. Well, they are locked in. Mexico is 1. USA is 2, Canada is 3, Costa Rica is 4. They already put out the bracket saying the winner of 1 in the quarterfinalist plays the winner of 4 in the quarterfinals. So we already know Mexico winner plays the Costa Rica winner, and the US winner plays the Canada winner. Like, the bracket's already out. But the amazing thing is they put out this bracket. It doesn't say what team goes to what from the group stages. So we have no idea how, like, they're actually seeding the teams for these quarterfinals.
Just to clarify, it is Mexico, United States, Costa Rica, then Canada. So we would face the Costa Rica winner.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. As of February 28th, 2023, Costa Rica is 3rd. Canada is 4th.
Yeah.
According to the CONCACAF ranking index, which is what they're using.
Canada took a hit. All right. I was looking at older rankings. My B. So yes. So Mexico plays Canada. US plays Costa Rica. It kind of sucks that the US is only going to be able to beat one of Mexico and Canada. But it is also great that one of them won't even make it to the CNL finals next year.
They may not even make it, out of the quarters. Who knows? Because the way this also sets up is, again, it's November, right? And I get it from a competitive standpoint, right? From a getting better standpoint and from a preparing for the World Cup standpoint, this makes a lot of sense for the United States, Mexico, and Canada. It does not make sense for Costa Rica at all. It doesn't make sense from a fun standpoint. They've taken the fun out of this because, again, you only have that November window, and a lot of things can happen in that November window. What happened? It all depends on who you're playing, right? Remember what happened in World Cup qualifying when we had that November window? Canada was playing Mexico in Edmonton, right? Like, there was some dumb stuff that happened in that window, and that and the weather can affect things. It's still hurricane season. So some games were affected by a lot of rain. Like, it's a lot of elements out there that can affect these games. And for them to happen, it kind of, in theory, the United States, Mexico, Canada, Costa Rica should be, able to advance. but it adds a lot of pressure in the fact that if, it's only 2 games and as we know, and as we've seen in CONCACAF Champions League, anything can happen in those 2 games, and someone can have their best day on the day that you have your worst.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, there is some other reasoning and why they've done this.
Well, I would do it before we get on to like the ramifications of where this is going to go. I do want to point out this is taking place for the next 2 editions. So for the 23-24 Nations League and the 24-25 Nations League, they decided we're going to do this just for these 2. So we already know after they changed the whole thing after 2 versions of the Nations League, we're like, all right, that's 2 of them. We're going to do something different for the third. We already know that they're going to change everything again in a couple of years. So we just don't know what that's going to be. But this was changed with some other things in mind. Jonathan, you're about to get to it. Tell us about what it was changed for.
So one of the big things, we all know that for the 2024 Copa America, there is going to be 6 CONCACAF teams that are going to participate in that. So what they're doing with Nations League, so Eric mentioned that there's going to be a group round robin type setup, and then it will go to 4 quarterfinals. The winners of all 4 of those quarterfinals will be qualified not just for the Nations League final, but they will also be qualified for the 2024 Copa America. The 4 losers will then go into a play-in where there will be 2 additional spots that are available for berths in Copa America. So really that quarterfinals not only is a qualification for the finals of the Nations League, but we know that 6 of those 8 that make the quarterfinals will be headed to Copa America.
And it means that the 4 teams that got a auto, bye to the quarterfinals are guaranteed at least being in the playoff. So if you think about it, like they are guaranteed 3 games to make it to Copa America.
They get the home and away, and then they get that playoff as like a redemption, So obviously they're trying to look out for the teams that they know they need to get into Copa America while still making it theoretically open for anyone to qualify.
Yeah, because there was some thought that they were just going to, especially for Canada, the United States, and Mexico, that they were just going to immediately put them straight into Copa America. But that is not the case. But what do you think? What do you guys think the odds are of one of the 3, and if one of the 3 to miss Copa America?
Well, I think the 3, like the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, I think just based on the way it's set up, there really isn't a scenario. I have a hard time believing that they're going to miss 2 kicks at the can based on how it's going to go. Because with those quarterfinalists, all right, say Canada gets drawn against a tough team like Jamaica, Panama, like they go, obviously CONCACAF away is always tough. Even if that doesn't go their way, they still have that playoff. And I don't believe CONCACAF has announced where those playoffs are going to be.
We just say that we know they're going to be a centralized venue, but they haven't decided where.
Those are going to be in the United States. We know CONCACAF too well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're depending on the teams that are in it, they're going to put it wherever they're going to maximize the revenue. But I just don't see a scenario where any of the major players are really going to miss out. But which is good. CONCACAF needs its best to be in this new competition. But it's sad that they had to destroy something so beloved to, get to this. Donald's shaking his head.
I might just go to the islands anyway during the fall.
If they're going to threaten me with a good time.
Nations League is going to happen, and I have not yet missed a Nations League match involving the United States. I'm also not missing the group stage. Like something's going to happen.
Yeah. So we have our Copa America qualification scenario just announced with all these changes. Also, being announced. Donald, take us through the road to 2026.
Yeah, so the United States, Mexico, and Canada, of course, are hosting the World Cup in 2026. And as it's funny that it wasn't quite guaranteed that they were going to receive automatic slots or automatic berths in the World Cup, but FIFA confirmed that yes, as hosts, all three of them would get automatic bids. So the great thing about this is normally, CONCACAF under the old format would only get three teams guaranteed to be in the World Cup, and then they'd have that playoff for a potential fourth spot, which is what happened this past year. But because the tournament has expanded to 48 teams, CONCACAF actually gets 6 automatic bids, or direct bids, I would say, plus 2 that can qualify through the new expanded interconfederation playoff that they're going to have in 2025. So that means that the 3 slots that Canada, Mexico, and the US take up are just coming out of that pile of 6, so to speak. So to do that, to get the other 3, they've kind of reformatted how it's going to work. So the first round, you're going to have the bottom 4 CONCACAF teams based on the FIFA rankings in November 2023. They will be divided up into 2 matchups, 2-legged home and home games. The 2 winners will advance to the second round. In the second round, this is where it gets freaky. 30 teams, the 2 winners from the first, and everyone ranked 1 through 28. So that's everyone else other than Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and the 2 teams at the bottom who've lost in the first round. Everybody's in 6 groups of 5 teams. They will play single round elimination or single round robin games, 2 home, 2 away. And the group winners and the runners up will qualify for the third round. The third and final round, that's going to be 12 teams advancing from the second round. They're going to be drawn into 3 groups of 4 teams. They will play a double round robin, home and away against each team. And the 3 group winners will be your teams that qualify directly for the World Cup. The 2 best runners up will advance to the interconfederation playoff. So there's your system right there. We don't get the hexagonal, but it kind of makes it a free-for-all in the sense that you're going to have almost everyone in CONCACAF competing at the same time for the right to get to that final round, for again, where only the group winners will be guaranteed a direct slot into the World Cup.
Yeah, and there's 2 points there. One, that's sad for us because we don't get to travel to any of these places. But secondly, and maybe most importantly, think of the content we're going to have during these windows. We're going to have World Cup qualifiers going on all day, every day in these windows from all over CONCACAF. So having every team competing at the same time in literally the most, outside of Nations League, the most important games they'll play every 4 years. It really is only kind of downside for your bottom 4 ranked teams that they only have that one window to, get through to this next round. And just for notes, you've got Turks and Caicos, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, and Anguilla are your 4 teams that would, as of now, be participating in that first round.
But in theory, they have till November to kind of get their ducks in a row and maybe make some moves.
Which, for you folks at home, that is the importance of Nations League, because they have official competition games in March, October, and November. Well, September. October, yes. To boost their rankings, get results, and qualify for that second round immediately.
Yeah, I will say this, most importantly, this is the opportunity for both CONCACAF and member nations to enlist our services to show up to games, because I don't know about you guys, I will skip a U.S. friendly to go to a meaningful, CONCACAF World Cup qualifier in an island.
Oh, without a doubt. No hesitation. I'm there.
At PodCACAF.
If you need to email us application or something like that, it's podcacaf@gmail.com. PODCACAF@gmail.com.
Also sidebar. I don't think we were going to talk about this on the show, but sidebar. We could also do this from the air, right? There's going to be a new 24-hour streaming channel on the same network that just so happens to be broadcasting Nations League. It's almost like a match made in heaven. At CBS, at Paramount Plus, DM us at Concacaf.
Yeah, no, we should mention that CBS Sports announcing that they're doing a streaming soccer network that's going to be 24/7. It's awesome that the rights holders for all of these major CONCACAF competitions are putting so much focus into soccer coverage. I really hope it's not just going to be 22 hours of UEFA Champions League coverage and reaction, even though listening to Thierry Henry is great. I would like them to, show some focus on our region, because I think they've got the platform to really grow the brand of CONCACAF and CONCACAF competitions.
I mean, I think they're going to focus on it a good bit. I would expect, Champions League, Serie A, and CONCACAF to be the big focuses for them, considering those are the ones that they are the rights holders for. I know I saw some discussion. They will also be talking. I know they said they will be talking MLS. So hopefully it's, American and region specific soccer as a whole.
And hopefully NWSL, they do have the rights to that as well. So hopefully they'll be talking a lot of that and the women's soccer that they have, kind of bolstered up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've really been doing a great job of boosting the profile of women's soccer. And related to that, as part of these new revamped competitions, we have the revamped CONCACAF Women's Championship. The CONCACAF W Gold Cup format was announced. Donald, tell us about how the CONCACAF W Gold Cup is now actually a thing.
Yeah, so it's actually a new competition. I believe the CONCACAF W Championship that will qualify people for the Olympics and for the World Cup, I believe that will still go on in 2026. But this is a new competition, which is great because I think in the women's game, they've wanted to bolster up the number of competitions that give, especially some of these, smaller nations that don't have big programs, opportunities to pump resources into their women's programs and get teams on the field. So the W Gold Cup will begin actually in February of next year, February 2024. The U.S. has already qualified for the W Gold Cup. They qualified by winning the 2022 CONCACAF W Championship. Qualification for the rest of the teams begins in September. The qualification draw will be on May 17th. The U.S. women's national team will be joined by the winner of the CONCACAF Olympic playoff, which is between Canada and Jamaica, as well as 6 other CONCACAF teams that advanced through qualifying this fall. In addition, we had the talk about the CONCACAF and CONMEBOL kind of having a partnership, increased partnership that includes Copa America, but it also includes this W Gold Cup. 4 teams from CONMEBOL, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and Paraguay, will also be in this tournament. That was previously announced. Those 4 teams are the teams that did the best at their last Copa America. So those 4 teams will join 6 others. There will be a 6-team preliminary round on February 17th, where 3 teams will complete the 12-team group stage. They will then perform the group stage in 3 groups of 4 teams each. The top 2 in each group, plus the 2 best third-place winners, will advance to the knockout stage beginning on March 2nd, which will be single elimination, and then they'll have a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and then the CONCACAF W Gold Cup final on March 10th. This will take place in the United States, but it's another opportunity for the women's national teams to have another shot and another trophy, which I think is great. And also, if you take a look at the logo, if the trophy is going to look anything like the logo, it should look pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see this competition really find its legs. And I think the most important part about this is the fact that FIFA came out and said, this is on the calendar. This is an official competition that every club around the world is going to have to release their players to go play in this. So you're really going to get the best on best of the region for this competition, which I think is really important. And that's how you start something that you can build is that you're going to have, the quality content there.
I wasn't too worried about the calendar about this competition being on the calendar. I say that because every other, confederation at this point has a cup of some sort. Even Oceania has a cup. This is the one that's we were the only ones that really didn't have one that was similar to the men. And so I think it made sense to add this one to the calendar. But again, qualifying, the Concacaf W Championship should not be taken as a tournament of sorts. It really is qualifying for these two major competitions that they have in the World Cup and the Olympics. So I think that it's just like the men going through World Cup qualifying, but in a truncated version of it. But this is great. I mean, it's going to be a really cool competition. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. Obviously, a lot of new competitions, new formats. It's an exciting time for CONCACAF because it seems like everything changes all the time. So we're just rolling with it. We're rolling with it. Before we get out of here, we should talk CONCACAF Champions League because that is going on right now. The first thing I want to bring up is, did you guys see the dog on the field?
I did.
Yes.
Did see the dog on the field.
So Alianza was hosting Philadelphia Union of MLS. Estadio Cuscatlan, just the place of magic. Just in the middle of the game, dog just runs out on the field, went viral. It's like, I think it was actually great for the competition because obviously it went viral. So people like, oh, Champions League is going on for our teams. So like it definitely got some attention.
Yeah. And also I think there was some video about like the dog like had its own little journey through the stadium. It was like going through the stands. It was, picking off people's food. Then all of a sudden it was like, I'm done with the stands. What's up with this whole patch of grass here? Like, what's up over here? Seems like these kids are playing a little ball over here. Why can't I play? And
it was like a pickup game. He's like, I want
I guess he slipped a barrier or hopped the fence or something, and all of a sudden he was on the field.
And it was like at the perfect time too, because it was like during a free kick.
Yeah, it's a dead ball.
Yeah, so like he came out on the field and then wanted to eat the ball and play. Like puppy just wanted to play. He was there. He showed up more ready to play than Austin did against Viet.
Oh, we should definitely talk about this. So, at this point, everyone hearing this will have seen what had happened. So Austin FC of MLS gets drawn against Violette AC of Haiti. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in Haiti. The first match is a Violette home game. They actually play it in the Dominican Republic. And Violette comes out and punches Austin in the face. It gets a 3-0 win repeatedly.
They gave him a 2-piece and a biscuit.
So the incredible thing is, Violette is a Haitian team. They haven't played like a competitive game in almost a year. These are
any
game at all. And their first two games are CONCACAF Champions League against an MLS team, like who's been through preseason, who's played actual league games already. Obviously, Austin, this is their first time going CONCACAF away. They don't know what they're in for. But Violette gets a shock 3-0 win. And then in the second leg in Austin, Texas, Violette, because of immigration issues, visas, they only have 14 players for the match. They have 11 and 3 subs, and they go into Austin and hold on for a 2-0 loss to win on aggregate.
I believe they also had to get a couple players from FC Motown, which is the MPSL team in New Jersey. I believe they had to sign a couple players on loan so that they would have enough players to field a team with a few subs.
Yeah, no, that was what I was going to say. There was 3 or 4 NPSL players that played. I do have a bone to pick with CONCACAF over this. I really feel like, and it's specifically with, I feel like it's, specifically with issues coming into the U.S. We saw this last year with the New York Revolution, not the New England Revolution,
Yeah.
getting a just basically a bye. But I
Yeah.
feel like there should be some requirement of like, if the country that you are in won't let the player, like if there's visa issues, you should then be forced to play somewhere else. That
Well,
like
well,
because you don't see this in Champions League, you don't see this in Copa Libertadores, where there's issues, and it's specifically with the United States, where there's issues getting visas. There's got to be US, because US soccer is involved in this. There's got to be a better way to ensure that these teams and these players aren't coming in and playing American teams with one hand tied behind their back.
yeah. I should note that team that was supposed to play the New England Revolution, that was Cavalier AS. That was also a Haitian team. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that had happened was how Violette was actually kind of prepared for the scenario where it's like, yo, we might need to sign some players because you have a max roster that you can enter into the competition. So they left some spots knowing that this might happen. I do think that you have a point that if a country diplomatically will not, enable teams to field their full teams, like the U.S. teams that are in this competition shouldn't necessarily be able to host it in the U.S. Like everyone else has to play neutral site games when their home country has issues. Why wouldn't the U.S. have to do that? Like go play us in the Dominican Republic, play a neutral site game if you can't let the other team have full competitive value.
So I half agree with you too. Here's why. So when you talked about Champions League, like in Europe, obviously Europe is a different beast because Europe, they have the Schengen zone, and they have an agreement where people can have basically free flow.
Yeah.
But also, if they do have geopolitical beef, teams from those countries can't get drawn against each other. You won't see a Russian team drawn against Ukraine, those sort of things. Like, some of the former Yugoslav Republic countries, they won't be drawn against each other. And maybe CONCACAF needs to do that. Here's the thing that I kind of disagree with. And, there's obviously several situations, right? But this situation is Haitian's government is basically like null and void. They are in turmoil. They've had a few earthquakes, as we've talked about. They've had a few assassinations, as we've talked about. They've had a lot of problems going on, and it has not been deemed safe to play games in Haiti by CONCACAF. That is obviously not the team's fault, but there's also no recourse for that. It's not it's not about the teams not being able to come in. But in this little case, this is just something that I feel like CONCACAF should be able to work out, right? This is not something where CONCACAF is based in Miami. So it's not like CONCACAF is trying to, hey, please, United States can get these in. They can walk down the street to the consulates and do what they need to do to get these teams in. But I also think it's not fair to the teams that, because you happen to draw us against a team that has nothing to do with us, and there's geopolitical issues. I wouldn't even say beef, right? There's no beef between us and Haiti. They just have issues with getting visas. But because you drew us against them, we have to give up a home game, and that takes away our home field advantage. I don't necessarily think that's fair either. So I think there's that side of it. I do agree that they had to figure out a way to get these players in, or get them to a point where they could have full strength, because it kind of diminishes the competition when you have some issues like this, where you have to sign players last minute from some team in New Jersey who has nothing to do with anything to get this game off the ground. But this is where CONCACAF needs to have people there to be like, look, they should have full-time people whose only job it is to process visas all around the region, so that there's no issues. And if there is issues, they can come across it and say, hey, we're going to have a potential thing here where if, this game on the, next month, we need to figure out how to get these players into the country. And if it means going down to the consulates and getting some paper signed, then they should be doing that.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say on this is, especially in this situation and with the Cavalier instance last year, there was plenty of lead time to get this taken care of, because it was not a situation. I mean, these teams were drawn back in November. Like, we knew what these matchups were and knew that there was the possibility, especially based on Cavalier last year. We knew that this was going to be a possibility. They were talking about this a month before the match. And the fact that
Cavaliers was like also COVID related. Like, they couldn't secure the tests that they need to. The same thing with the Gold Cup in 2021. Was it Cuba or whatever that had to forfeit a game because they couldn't get like the proper tests that America required to get into the country. That part I'm like, okay, whatever. But this, like you said, this is something that they've had 6 months to work on.
Yeah.
So something that they need to look at in the future. We're going to go ahead and wrap this right here. Obviously, Champions League is not over. A lot of games that happen this spring and summer. We're close to the end of this first round. So we'll have more coverage on that. We're going to be releasing soon, a few days after this one, a Concacaf Nations League preview. So look forward to that. Make sure you're following us on social media at Podcacaf, PODCACAF, on our Patreon at patreon.com/Podcacaf. And Don, where can they find you?
At Blazing DW, and then writing at starsandstripesfc.com.
Jonathan?
And then you can find me at JSlapeSSP, and then writing for Broadway Sports Media. I'm going to plug this in the Nations League preview as well, but be on the lookout for video content coming around this Nations League window, mainly Instagram and maybe a post YouTube video.
Yes, Jonathan is writing a lot of checks that he's going to have to cash here. And all of you listeners, everyone listening, if you find any grammatical errors, please let us know, because there's a price to pay for bad grammar on our social media. We'll wrap it here. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.